And do you want me to share the agenda?
Yep, you can put it up on the screen. Good evening, everyone. It's 7:05 p.m. It is Thursday, January 20th. This is the Leadership Committee meeting. And in attendance, we have, let me just pull up the attendance, 1 second. We have myself, Yahe Obeid, with Jeremy, Al, Andrea, don't know who that person is, Bernadette, Diana Finch, Joe Baycoat, Lisa Soto, Rachel, Robert Press, Roxanne Delgado, and Veronica Castro. These are the current folks in attendance as of 7:06 p.m. And we'll get started with the agenda. So you can see the first item on the agenda are the minutes for the December 2021 meeting. Hope everybody has reviewed them.
So there is an error with them, which we will
Okay.
correct. But I mean, we just share the minutes. The error here, as one of you pointed out, was Diana E. Finch spoke about we don't know what, we'll fill that in. But unless there's any other questions, corrections, I think that's the only thing here. D. Finch spoke about. I have to follow up on that.
Okay.
Anything else that anybody noticed with the minutes from December?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay, that was seconded by Andrea. All right, any objections or abstentions? All right, motion passes. We will move on to the second item on the agenda. Go back to the agenda real quick, Jeremy. Second item is the draft January 2022 Community Board 11 full board agenda. You can pull that up, Jeremy, and we'll start dissecting it.
I know. Definitely a draft. I gotta stop sharing. I gotta reshare. Can everybody view this?
I'm going to pull it up on my phone.
Yeah, everybody that can see my screen can see it so far.
Yeah, and I think we can zoom in too. I'm able to zoom in on your screen.
You want me to zoom in on my screen?
No, I zoomed in. I was able to do it, and I think
Okay.
everybody has the capability of zooming in.
So,
All right. So I think the first three items are the same, right? Did you get any requests for the gallery session yet?
not yet, but I'm sure we'll get some.
Okay.
That Al, I don't know if you want to announce Daisy's departure during your report. You're muted, Al.
I want to talk to Daisy first. I'd like to give her a chance if she wants to stay on the board. We'll take her off any committees that she may be on. I hate to have her leave. There's a sickness in the family, and I understand she has to take care of her dad. But I'll reach out to her first before we make that decision.
Hey, can I make a suggestion? This is Lisa. For
Yeah.
the moment of silence, can we just add, for this meeting, the victims of the fire?
Okay.
Good idea.
I would say recent. I mean, I would say more than one fire. So I would generalize it for the recent fires in the Bronx.
Good.
And then
Yeah,
I
that
don't
makes
know.
sense.
Yeah. I don't, do we want to go anywhere else, or is that, we'll leave it at that? So I can think of one other thing we can maybe add, but which actually I want to talk about during my report at some point.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Lisa, because we've had 3 impactful fires in the past 5 weeks.
I'll figure out the wording, but I'm just gonna put that something generic so I can remember to do it a little bit too.
Diana Finch.
has joined the meeting.
Anything else? Chairman's report, treasurer's report, secretary's report, report. I don't know if I need to go into detail on my report yet. Leadership. This I gotta work. I gotta change the formatting this. So the education committee nominated 5 youth. As you can see. Is there any other committee that made motions for the full board? We had sanitation and parks. Lisa, you guys didn't vote on anything, did you?
No, we did not vote on anything.
Do you want me to put you, do you have a report to give regardless? Or do you want me to leave it off?
No, I don't necessarily need to give a report. The minutes will be posted when they're ready. I don't really have
Yeah.
anything to report other than read the minutes, so you can leave me off.
Yeah. Transportation did not have a meeting, I believe. Right? Lisa, they have a meeting this month, right? For them. And he's supposed to meet next week. So one thing that's also that would maybe be voted on tonight. I know a member of the public expressed concern about that, and I think they have a valid point. So if I go back to, do you want to go through that? Yeah, hey, the liquor license application, or do you want now, or do you want to finish? There's really nothing left to the agenda other than the electeds. Unless there's something else that I'm missing.
You have where do you have the leadership committee? Do you have the thing we're going to vote on tonight? For Rainbow?
So
Is it Rainbow or whatever?
yeah, that's what I was talking about. So
Oh, okay.
let me share the agenda again. So everybody's clear on what we're talking about. We're going to talk about. So we got a renewal liquor license application for Rainbow Diner. Economic Development Committee is not meeting this month. A member of the public did basically ask for the document received to be shared publicly, which quite possibly is the correct procedure. So let me just, so remember in October, the governor signed legislation to amend the open meetings law, a public officers law, which requires we make available agency records. For it's the language is convoluted. So we make available agency records that is scheduled to be discussed during the public entities meeting when the general public may be in attendance to the extent practicable, at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. So to make this, so it's not really practical to share this now. It's not 24 hours. Maybe we share this prior to the full board meeting. If you want to vote on to tonight, or we can table it and then just vote on it the full board. It's really to the committee, obviously. Does that make sense? Is that, we got a renewal liquor license for the Rainbow Diner on White Plains Road. the liquor wine beer application to my knowledge. I haven't heard if there's any issues with the police. So we could table it until the full board meeting. And then share the document that we received. It's just an intent to renew. That's
Yeah,
the only
let's
thing
do
we
that.
received.
We
Okay.
don't- Yeah,
So I'll still put that on the agenda for full board under leadership. And that way I'll hyperlink. Ideally, let me go back to the agenda. And that way I can probably hyperlink the rest of the intent somehow. So does that sound fine? Put it right here under leadership.
I'm good with it unless anyone has any objections.
Okay. Does it sound like no objections? And I know Bernadette had to restart her computer. She had an issue, but I believe I got the motion for the nominees correct. Anything else with the agenda then?
Anything else from anybody?
I think you just have to update the elected officials, Jeremy.
Oh, you are right. Perfect.
Yeah, Jeremy, I think there's two other things that should be added to the agenda. We have
Diana Finch has left the meeting.
street namings for Silvio Mazzella and Joe Bombase. We also
Okay.
have to discuss the opening of the office. The office really, at this stage of the game, I think the office should be open 5 days a week.
So,
I'll leave it up to the to lead the members to decide, but I think we really have to start manning the office.
okay. So yeah, we don't have to, we can discuss that if you want publicly, or I don't see why we can't do it outside of individual issues.
Yeah.
But in terms of the applications, what's that?
About the application for the liquor application you're talking about?
No, you mentioned street code namings, right?
Yeah, we have two for one for Joe Bombase and the other one for Silvio Mazzella.
You have the applications?
No, I just wanted to bring it up to the full board.
Okay. So do you want me to put it under your report?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. I don't think anything else really needs to be discussed. I don't see why we do not discuss anything else. Okay.
Thank you.
Got it?
All right, so motion to approve the draft full board of agenda for January 2022. Do I have a second?
I'll second. It's Lisa.
Seconded by Lisa. Any abstentions? Any objections? All right, motion passes. So we'll go to the next item, which is the Community Board 11 calendar, events and meetings calendar, or meetings and events calendar.
Put that on. Okay. So Bernadette, we okay with the second? Have an agenda? Everybody see this? Everybody see the calendar?
I can see it.
So unless, I don't know, Bernadette's still here. So, housing, 7:30, or no, 6:30, 7:30. Right now, the only thing we have booked is, so this is a homeless shelter public hearing. Only thing we have booked is Meister's Caterers. So I know members of the public, they wanted me to reach out to some of the schools. I spoke to PS 105 yesterday. They said it's not open to the public currently, or for outside events. I got an email today saying that that's not true. So I took the extra step of emailing principal and the vice principal, and I'm waiting to hear back just to confirm what I was told yesterday on the phone for 105. And then somebody also suggested Anson Place. We spoke to the school. They asked that they email us. We emailed them, but I haven't heard back yet from them either. Maestro Caters is willing to host this in-person public hearing, and they're willing to put out 200 seats, and they're offering to put out like coffee and cookies too. I think we should turn that down. We should thank them for that, but I don't think we should have that at this meeting. I think that would distract from the primary purpose. Al, yeah, hey, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Did we, now, I remember they're very strict. You have to be vaccinated in order to enter, right?
I know when you and I went for the leadership committee meeting, in October, they wouldn't let me in without showing my proof of vaccination card. Um, so, and I know if they're not strict, they'll get in trouble. So, I'm sure that will probably be a problem. Probably won't be a problem.
Yeah,
So,
I think when you walk into the place, they will check.
well, they're supposed to check. Let's put it that way. And I'll just remind them of their duty to
They
do
did
that.
last time I was there.
Hey, Jeremy, can you confirm with them that vaccines are mandatory, and since they won't be
Well,
serving?
I've already confirmed a while ago with the mayor's office that that was the case, but I don't think the Adams administration has changed the policy, but I can
Okay.
reconfirm with the mayor's office. But they did
Yeah,
tell me
and
that minors would have to require it, even though we weren't there to eat. It is an eating establishment, and it qualified at the time last year.
okay, and since we won't be serving any food, we'll make masks mandatory. So we'll make the request that masks are mandatory or required.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, at this point, we really need to delay with the location. I don't know if that's
We also have the place on Barnes and Lydic, which can accommodate a large crowd, and that's more in the neighborhood.
can accommodate 200 people safely.
I
So I'm
I would
expecting.
say yes, but I don't hold me to it.
Okay. You're talking about um the old campaign office for Joe and I.
Yeah, where
Right?
they built that new building, because Pelham Parkway holds their meetings there, and so I know they do host, and it's a very large room,
Okay.
and that's more in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
The only issue with that one is parking.
Well, people can walk there. This is a neighborhood town hall meeting. This is not a party.
Well, it's a community for 11 public hearing.
But it's for people who live down on Gun Hill are not gonna be coming or not, will not be coming or not be interested in this homeless shelter because it doesn't pertain to them. But the people from Pelham Parkway, from Morris Park, from Van Ness, those, I would assume that those are the people that are going to be interested in attending this meeting. From Bronx Park East.
Do you have the
So
address, Andrea?
it's
Excuse me?
2134. Is that 2134 Barnes Avenue? At least that's what it
Okay.
used to be. Pretty sure it's the same. Right, Andrew, same address?
Before we beat this to death, why don't you call a location tomorrow, Jeremy, find out if it's available, find out if they could seat a house, 200 people. This becomes moot if that's not possible.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So then pending what I hear tomorrow, if I don't hear back from the schools tomorrow, I'd say, yeah. If the place can safely hold 200 people, fine, we'll go with Barnes Avenue, but if not, and I don't hear back from the schools, then I guess it's Maestro's, right? Okay. Transportation, I guess I'll follow up with Rabbi. Joe Baco, we have, normally you would meet on the 8th of February. You have an agenda, any agenda items?
I'm good on the 7th. I'm here.
Oh, hey, about it. So do you have an agenda? Or agenda items? I guess we can come back to him. It's a little bit cumbersome now for me to, because I hyperlink with this click here thing, it's a little cumbersome to make edits to the calendar. So as much as I can square away things now, the better. So if you don't have agenda items, I recommend don't schedule a meeting unless you know you have something you need or want to discuss. So health, transportation, education, sanitation, parks, public safety, economic development, executive board. I don't think we have any attendance issues. I thought we were going to maybe have attendance issues, but I'll get rid of that now unless you want me to keep it on there.
No, remove it.
Doing that now. Leadership, obviously, we have agenda items. Can follow with some of the people who are not here tonight. But if you don't have agenda items, I think we should take you off. So, Lisa, are you still here? Do you have agenda items for the 10th? Or will you have
I don't
agenda
know
items?
yet because I just met last week, so it's kind of hard to say now if something is not going to come. Like, I don't know for sure.
Okay. All right. So,
Jeremy,
what do you
anything
think
new with
we
the
have?
bicycles?
What's that?
Anything new with the bicycles?
The e-scooters?
The schooners?
No, I mean, last I heard, they were supposed to expand the program. I can double check though. I can reach out to DOT.
Jeremy, excuse me, I was under the impression that one of them has been taken off the streets.
Oh, one of the
So-
companies?
Yes, there's only two left now, if I'm correct.
All right, so let me reach out to DOT tomorrow.
I
Okay.
think they're still on the
Andrea,
street.
you're right. I think they were stealing the batteries and they felt it wasn't.
Correct. They were stealing the not only the batteries, but the entire vehicle, and they decided to stop it.
Yeah, I
Somebody
think
else?
that all three companies are still operating, but one of them is probably not going to extend past the pilot program.
So then, Jeremy, that was the only thing I was going to talk about, the scooters, whatever they're called. I don't really have much of an agenda for this one.
All right,
Unless
well,
you have something that I don't know about.
we did get a street activity permit, but I think it's a renewal. So, yeah, I don't really have anything right now. We can finalize stuff tomorrow if you're available in the morning.
Okay, that's fine. You could find me.
So, All right, unless anything else, I guess I'll leave it alone for now. And I can finalize with some of the people who weren't
Public
here.
safety, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the 49th precinct. If I have any other guests, I'll let you know.
On the 15th. Yeah.
Right.
And you were thinking, and you're probably having, you may be having a meeting. So for this month, it was pushed back to the 24th now, maybe the 31st. I don't know if you finalized that yet. No. Okay. Right, I guess, anything else? Yeah. Hey.
Nope, I don't have anything else. So motion to approve the February 2022 calendar. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Al. Any objections or abstentions? All right, motion passes.
So let me stop sharing. I'll go back to the agenda.
And I think we're up to the gallery session at this point.
Yep.
Yep. So
I have a hand raised from the
Yeah.
public.
Let's see here. Diana Finch, would you like to speak?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I had trouble logging on. I don't know why. The WebEx was weird. I had some concerns about the upcoming hearing on the shelter. It seems very unclear as to whether or not the hearing is just informational, or in fact, if we could avert having the shelter come to the area, and all the parameters for how the shelter locations are decided on, and nobody's addressing them or clarifying them. And I just hope that before the meeting, things like the fair share doctrine are really clarified and put out there. And the fact that as of 2017, it seems as though the Community Board 11 district had no shelters, whereas they had over 800 people in the shelter system. And that's why there's an influx of shelters coming in now to equalize things. But I just want it in advance of the meeting so that it doesn't turn into a horrible confrontational mess, to have clarity on what the point of the meeting is, who decides where the shelters go, who has a right of approval, and also if there's a community advisory board that gets appointed when the shelter opens to manage the relationships between the community and the shelter residents. Are we looking ahead to that? I would just like a lot more information and clarity about like what's at stake here.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. I don't have answers to some of your questions. I don't think anyone here does, but for the process, because it is a process, what they do is they give us a proposed letter for, this is their intention to put a proposed shelter. That's just a notification to the community board. And then it goes through their process and then it gets firmed up. right now, we're still in the process. Is it a done deal? No. Who's it ultimately up to? The mayor's office. So it's just part of the process now with the elected officials. They also play a bigger role than the community board does, right? Because we're just an advisory board, but the elected officials have more say. So this is an opportunity for the community to express their concerns and get their questions answered. So I suggest if you have, if you don't mind emailing us those questions, and that's what we're going to start recommending, that folks email us the questions so we don't have repetitive questions during the town hall, and we make it as efficient as possible. We hear from as many people as possible. So anything Al or Jeremy wants to add to that?
I just wanted to say, Department of Homeless Services will be attending the meeting, but it will be virtual. They will not be there in person. And I had requested that at least someone come in person, just so they can get a feel for the crowd. You know, we'll have a good crowd there, and people will be upset. It's a little bit different when you do it virtually, or when you're sitting in a room with people that are irate over something that's going into their community. Just to answer a few of your questions, as Yahya said, what we'll do is we'll collect all the questions ahead of time. We will ask them the questions that you propose. We're doing that so that it's not duplicate questions. So what we'll do is we'll ask them all the questions that they have, and then at the town hall, we'll be able to make statements. They won't be answering our questions. Our questions will be answered ahead of time, virtually. And then we will talk, and then we will make our statements to the powers that be.
But will the DHS people be at the meeting?
Yes, they'll be at the virtual meeting, but they will not be there in person. They will not come in person.
You mean they will appear on a screen somewhere during the meeting?
Correct.
And why won't they come in person?
They said that they were told, the city told them they didn't have to come.
Oh. So, and then the other question is, it seems as though the work has been started on the building already, that it's being.
Yeah, as soon as we saw that, we asked, I'd asked Jeremy to please check to make sure that all the licenses, because there were no permits posted. Yahya went around and saw no permits posted. Now they're supposed to have them posted or they get fined. I had Jeremy check with the Department of Buildings, and they in fact did have permits. Yeah, in other words, they're doing the work before this thing was okayed by the mayor, as far as I understand so far. That's as far as we know.
So the question is, though, if the work has already started on the building to transform it into a shelter, that means the shelter is coming and it's going to be there.
I don't know if they're just raising what's there and putting up a building. I don't know if what goes in there is set in stone yet, and I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Yeah, they have.
Can I ask a question?
So, Andrew, just real quick before you go. So we've been checking weekly to see if there are any permits in place, and just a week prior to that, there was still no permits in place. So we wanted to do it in person. They pushed back in person for January. We delayed it until February, hoping to get them to attend in person, and they still declined to attend in person. But we were following up with the permits online, and when we saw the scaffolding go up, they said, oh, they have obtained permits. They have obtained permits to build, but they don't have permits for a shelter. So it's two different things. They can be building for something else while they're in the process of getting the shelter. You're right. But I guess that's a loophole, a legal loophole they have. Andrea, you can go ahead.
I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but please make sure all of our elected officials can try and be there. The second point is, you're saying that you want questions in advance. How many people are going to know in advance that they have to submit questions? That's not going to work if you have a room full of 200 irate residents of Pelham Parkway. that is definitely not gonna work. Please take that into consideration.
Andrea, there will be flyers posted, and on the flyer that will be mentioned. Also, the people that were at the rally the other day were all notified that the questions had to be in advance, and we'll make that as public as we can, hopefully by word of mouth. But most of the questions I'm sure that are going to be asked by either the members of the committee or the people that are here on this podcast now.
But just be aware that a lot of people who might show up will not have been made aware of what you're saying. We've had enough of these town hall meetings where people get irate, and you know better. So you just take that into consideration.
Yeah, I don't, be honest with you, I don't know of any other way of doing it other than open the microphone, and then doing this virtually would really be it'd be very difficult to do.
Either that, or when they come in, they'll sign up that if they have a question and write it down like we did at the regular meetings with a gallery slip.
Yeah, but there'll be no way of checking to see if the questions were redundant.
Well, you're gonna have a panel there, so somebody can look through them.
I'm pretty sure, Andrea, that all the questions that need to be answered will be answered or will be asked.
I know, but you have to understand, when people come to these things, unfortunately, they all want to hear themselves speak.
Well, that's one of the reasons we want the questions in advance, because this will get right to the questions.
Hopefully you're right, but I tend to doubt it at this point, to say that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can I say something after Andrea?
I'm finished, Bernadette.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead, Bernadette.
Okay. I kind of have to agree with Andrea, because do you remember the town hall that we had at Bronx House when we had Comptroller Scott Stringer? And there was somebody who was there who said, if you want to speak, please, give me your name, etc., and write your question down. And then there were 2 lines. It was very organized. Everybody had a chance to speak. Some of them were a bit redundant, but I would like to feel organized enough that will work out. But unfortunately, I tend to agree with Andrea that it could get started out that way, but I don't feel that it's going to end that way or in the middle of it, because there's going to be a lot of people who are not going to read the flyer as well as they should to know that, well, I have to email in my question. So we got to be prepared for that.
Bernadette, I don't know much about the technology, but I don't know how that would play out with people asking questions and then having a panel that's not there answering the questions. Again, if somebody's has more knowledge of technology and how we can do something like that, Jeremy, you would be the one that would be in charge of it if it was a possibility. I have no problem with that, except for the fact that I don't want questions to be redundant. We'll be there all night answering the same questions. As Andrea said, and you mentioned, people just sometimes want to hear themselves speak. So the question will take 2 seconds, but they're like politicians. The preamble to the question will take an hour and a half.
Is there going to be somebody who is going to be a moderator to basically say, we've heard that question before, thank you?
That's why we wanted them ahead of time. This way you're not cutting anybody off. Most of the questions that we have to ask, we know what questions we want to ask. And again, there's enough people right here now that are knowledgeable enough to be able to ask the questions that need to be answered.
Yes, and so is there going to be a large screen with the people? Is that going to be, how is it?
I have no idea, Bernadette. I'll leave that up. That's up to, Jeremy setting that up.
Okay.
So there are 2 things. So yeah, they won't meet in person. So Hazel's having her housing committee meeting at 6:30 on the 3rd with Homeless Services present. So at 7:30, the public hearing, our bylaws require that a request to speak is done in writing. I understand people are going to not understand that, and we're going to have to deal with that. I don't know.
Is it going to be at Maestro's?
Oh, until further notice, yeah. I mean, because
okay.
Can
we're
I
gonna
make a
sort it.
suggestion, Jeremy? It's Lisa. What if you have, because I do kind of agree with Andrea and Bernadette, like people are gonna want to have their questions heard. But I also agree with Al, like people are gonna kind of go on and on and on. So would a good compromise be when people come in, have them write down their questions if they didn't submit them in advance? Let them know that if we have time, we will get to these questions. We were supposed to submit them in advance and have whoever the moderator is be the one to ask the questions rather than the people. So they're actually submitting their whole question. And like, let's say, Jeremy, you're the moderator. You'll say, okay, a community member is asking blah, blah, blah. So you're asking on their behalf. So that gives them the opportunity to get their question asked, but they don't necessarily have to be the one asking it.
But why don't I share the bylaws that specifically talks about how this is done?
We can do whatever's convenient to the populace, whatever is more conducive. What I'm concerned about is if Hazel is having her meeting at 6:30 and they're going to be there at 6:30, if they're asking those questions at 6:30, the general public won't hear those questions. And I think, if we answer those questions, they won't even know that they were asked. So I think the questions, we should start the questioning period, whether it be by the board or by the people in the community, should be done at the same time so that everybody can hear the questions and answers. If we have the questions at 6:30 and then we have a general meeting at 7:30, all those questions would have been answered. And now you're going to ask the public, they won't know what the answers were to the questions that they wanted to ask. So they're going to ask the same questions over again because they didn't hear the answer in the beginning.
Well, I mean, does everybody want me to share the bylaws? Because there is a legal process to this.
No.
Oh, there's no reason to share the bylaws. We can do what we want. Whatever's
Well,
best for the community.
You can say that, Al, but I'm telling you what legally what you're supposed to be doing. So, I mean, it's up to you.
Tell me what we're supposed to be doing that we're not planning on doing.
So according to the bylaws, each member of the public wishing to speak shall submit to the chairperson in writing on a form provided by the board. So we draft a form. If you're around for when we used to meet in person, we used to draft a form. We let person check whether they're in favor of the proposal, if they're against it. So we want their name, the name of their organization, who they represent, if anybody, and as I discussed, in favor of opposition.
Jeremy, is this for a town hall or is this for one of our meetings?
This is for a public hearing. This is Article 7
Jeremy,
of
you say it's a public hearing run by the community board. Then you have to follow those guidelines. Why can't this just be a public hearing?
Well, that's why I tried to have, Hazel's meeting would be run by the board would be first, and then we would have a public hearing after that. Because this way it would be open to the public and we're not, we don't have to abide by the same laws that we have with the community board.
I agree with you.
But I don't know how to do that to make it conducive to everybody.
Because I already got people complaining they want a remote option, and which is why I guess it's why it's good Hazel is doing a remote thing. So for those people, and the people who want to show up in person can show up to my shows. So hey, who's some other question?
Excuse me, we said that we were going to have Hazel's meeting first, and the people were going to be there for Hazel's meeting. I'm sure Hazel's committee is going to ask all the questions that we want answered. But the public is not going to hear those answers or those questions because they're not there.
Well, ideally, Al, we draft a letter with very pointed questions. With they're pointed questions we should be asking. I think everybody should be asking. I think Ms. Finch brought up during her speaking time tonight. So the Fair Share Act or Fair Share criteria. So we have 800 beds, right? Supposedly 800 individuals in the homeless shelter system from Community Board 11. I think what's that? What are those numbers really based on? Are they all single adult men, which is what the city's trying to force upon us, single adult men shelters? Or do we have some women? Like what are the statistics? What's the percentage of men versus women, those 800? And where do they originate from? Are they really originating from Community Board 11, or is it Jacoby Medical Center or Bronx Psych?
These are questions we can ask, and I'm sure there will be asked. But what I'm saying is that how does the general public see what questions are being asked? If they're coming at 7 o'clock or 7:30 and our meeting's at 6:30, all those questions are going to be asked at 6:30. The general public is not going to be made aware of what those questions are because they're coming in an hour later.
Well, remember that the point of a public hearing is to hear from the public, not to.
But wouldn't it be advantageous for them to hear the answers that these people have to give?
I completely agree. And
So-
I completely agree.
Let's set the meeting up where we have it so that the people are there for the meeting. They won't be able to make any statements until after Hazel's meeting is over, but then they can make whatever statements they want. This way, they'll already have heard most of the questions that were going to be asked.
So how do you want to do that then?
Either we start the Hazel's meeting later, or we have the general public come in earlier.
Is it possible to combine the two?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, technically, you have to separate the two. I know you want to combine them, but they're two different things.
but we have to
We
separate, right?
Yeah, we
Because-
have to do a committee meeting and we have to do a public hearing. It's two
Well-
different things. One will require that attendance is mandatory for the committee members. The second one will not require attendance if the chair doesn't want to make it mandatory. So if Hazel's okay with it, we can delay her meeting from 7 to 7:30. So that way you give people time to settle in that arrived early. I don't know. I think that's just a suggestion if she's willing to accept it.
Why does it have to be the same night? Why don't, maybe we give people time to digest what's said at Hazel's meeting, and then the next week we have the public hearing. For people who want to
No.
talk in person.
No, there's too much word is being spread everywhere that it's going to be February 3rd. Stick to February 3rd. So many people who are not connected to the community board, that don't come to the meetings, etc., that don't do the remote committee meetings, are preparing for February 3rd.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna text Hazel, find out how she can change that.
I think,
So we can discuss it with
honestly,
her.
I think that there should just be, if this is a public hearing, if we're doing a town hall, is a town hall by the bylaws different than a public hearing that we are supposed to do at our committee meetings? If it's different, we should be labeling it a town hall, not a public hearing, and allow Hazel to have her meeting, and we should call it, or just call this a public hearing and not a town hall meeting. I mean, I'm confused, and I'm a board member. How are you going to
What are you
explain
confused-
this
what-
to everybody?
What are you confused about? Let me clarify it for you. What do you need clarified?
Why is there, why are these people, why at the committee meeting are the people, the people who are attending, the DHS? I mean, what Al said, why are they're going to be answering the same questions? Why, I don't
No.
understand why that was.
No, I don't understand what you mean. The public hearing is to hear from the public. That's it.
I know, so a town hall is to hear from the public also.
Yeah, but this is a public hearing. That's what we're required by city charter to have one every month. That's why we.
So to be quite honest, we should have done it at another committee and not at the housing. So that the town hall could be the town hall, and Hazel's committee could be Hazel's committee meeting. You guys have to clarify it because it's confusing.
I agree with Bernadette.
Yeah, but who would be the sponsor of the town hall if we did a town hall versus a public hearing? Because the public hearing, we have the community board that's the sponsor. They're the lead. They're the ones that are doing the coordination. For a town hall, any organization can do a town hall. Anyone can call for a town hall. The NS Neighborhood Alliance can call for a town hall to be
I've been-
done
I've been at
tomorrow.
PS 83 where we've had town halls when it's been for a specific situation, a specific item. And you have, like in this thing for a town hall, you have the people we want to ask the questions to is Department of Homeless Services. The public wants to know the questions, has questions. They would like to know their answers. Community Board 11 is sponsoring it. We had it back when St. Dominic's was closing. We had a town hall in the gym. It was Community Board 11. It was from the school and the public. So to me, it's very simple. We want to ask Department of Homeless Services questions. Community Board 11 could sponsor it. They're the one on the screen, unfortunately, that are going to have to answer questions from the public. Am I missing something? I'm open, but what am I missing?
I'm trying to figure out why you're differentiating between the two. I see them almost identical. Whether we have it as a town hall or public hearing, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think we're getting off topic a little bit. It doesn't really,
Okay.
it doesn't matter what it's called, but what we're trying to determine here is a way to get the community, to get their questions heard, and to Al's point, to not be redundant to what might have already been asked during the committee meeting. That's the problem we're trying to solve. And if changing it to a town hall versus a hearing is what's the solve for that, great. But like, that's what we just need to solve. It doesn't matter what it's called. We just got to figure out how to solve that piece.
Okay.
But the language does matter. I mean, I know people like to say it doesn't, but I have certain notification requirements for a public hearing. I have to put an ad out with the city record.
Well,
Stuff like that.
that's what I'm saying. Jeremy is saying that there is a distinction. And in the past, we've had in-person town hall meetings set up with a panel of the people we want to ask questions and the public asking the questions. We've done it. I mean, I have in the past more than 2, 3, 4 times.
Right. Now, I'm not
So-
saying that there's not a distinction. There is a distinction, but what we select needs to be based on what our goal is. And our goal is to get questions answered by the community and to hear from them and to not be redundant. So which of the two options is the best option to solve that goal? That's the way we need to be looking at this.
Well,
Jeremy, why can't you just make DHS aware that at the town hall, public, whatever you want to call it, they might be having to repeat the answers to certain questions that were previously asked? End of story.
They're not going to be at the public hearing.
No, you said they're going to be virtual.
yes.
Why don't we do
At
this?
Hazel's meeting.
Why don't we do this? We're going to have a public hearing. Now, Jeremy, you brought out a few things at the public hearing that we have to do because of the bylaws. Now, can the community board on Thursday night suspend the fact that these questions have to be given in advance for one meeting? Do we have the right to do that? In other words, if I make a motion that we suspend the timing of the questions, in other words, they don't have to send them in 2 days ahead of time. They can ask the questions that night. Then we can do it all at one time. Is that?
I mean, I think the easier thing is just don't call it a public hearing. Just call it town hall. I mean, yeah, that's probably the easier thing. I mean, it doesn't fulfill our charter requirement, but if you want to do it that's probably the easier way to go about it.
Let's do that. We'll call it a town hall. We'll get it done that way. And sometime during the rest of the month, somebody will have a public hearing. Because I know you have to have one a month.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's
problem.
bring it up. I mean, I don't want to be the final voice. This is something that we should all decide on.
Yeah, the problem is, and I understand Bernadette's concern, is that DHS won't be there and it'll just be us, and that's currently how it's.
No, but they will be there. Why won't they be there?
They're going to be there.
You
Said
said
who?
you're going to be there virtually.
Yeah, for Hazel's meeting, and I have that in an email.
So they're not showing up to the town hall public hearing?
Not the in-person one. No, that's
Then what is the point?
Yeah, right. Then what's the point of having a meeting? That just to hear us all scream at a screen with no people there?
Well, ask the city charter. That's why we were doing
That's not an answer.
public
I'm
hearing.
sorry.
No, that's not okay. They have to be at our meeting. If we're having a public meeting, if we're having a town hall meeting, they have to be there. We'll make sure that we push enough buttons that we
Get
get them.
elected officials
That's ridiculous.
involved and make sure they tell these people that they have to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you exactly what they told me earlier today.
Jeremy, have your elected officials talk to them. Maybe they have a little more clout than you do.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. There's really no point in having a hearing, a town
not
hall.
gonna
with
show
everyone
up,
else,
right.
They're not gonna be there.
Well, I mean, I understand that. So, you want me to find out exactly what they told me earlier?
No, I want you to make sure that somebody is going to be representing them, even if it's virtually.
You know, I don't care what they told you. I think we could put enough pressure on that they'll be there. I mean, they're building homeless shelters in our community. The least they can do is come out to our community and listen to what the people have to say. That's ridiculous for them to say, no, we're not going to do that because it's not, they have to come and speak to the public.
Yeah, I thought they were coming, Jeremy. I might have misunderstood. It'll be almost a total waste.
That was the goal. That was the intent, and I think I made that clear. I will ask, but I can't drag them to the meeting. You know.
Well, then
Yes, we can. Absolutely
then
can.
everybody needs to show up at Hazel. If they're coming to Hazel, then the whole community basically needs to come to Hazel's meeting.
I definitely encourage that. Yeah, I mean, but I think we want a physical presence too, because not everybody wants to do remote or is comfortable doing remote or capable.
Or not everybody has the capabilities to do it.
Yeah, so I think that's why Al wanted the in-person thing.
The reason I wanted the in-person thing, it's a different feel watching something on the screen rather than being there in person and seeing the ire of the people that are being affected by these homeless shelters. You know, it's a lot easier to, look at a screen and not be there in public when you're looking in the faces of the people that are upset by what's going on in their community. That's why I wanted it to be, in person rather than virtual.
So let me just read the one sentence from Homeless Services that they sent me earlier today. Please let me know if this proposed public hearing being planned by Committee Board 11 regarding 2028 White Plains Road, subsequent to the already scheduled committee meeting on the same matter, can be held virtually so we can attentively listen to the community's views on the shelter being sited at that location. And I mean,
so they just want to hear from the community, and so we can ask questions, but they won't be there to answer them, period.
Yeah, prior to, so let me read the paragraph before that. As a follow-up to our conversation this morning, I learned afterwards that last Friday, Governor Hochul signed the extension of the remote meetings law to the last unit. I don't know what that means. To last unit. I think it meant until, I don't know, to last until the pandemic state of emergency. That being said, we would like to continue valuing the health and well-being of all individuals we meet with, as well as our agency employees, by holding virtually in an effort to mitigate the potential spread of the COVID virus and put individuals at risk. That's the
Jeremy, when we had the three-way with the guy from Homeless Services, I told him then, I wanted somebody to attend the town hall. And
he didn't agree to it though.
Well, whatever it is, now I'm getting angry because they have to do what we want. They work, our elected officials work for us. They're hired help. And if we want something, they have to make sure we get it done. If they have to, shake a tree and get these guys to attend, they have to attend. We can't just say, they say we're not coming. Okay, that's okay. That's not okay.
Well, we got to shake the mayor's tree somehow.
Who is the mayor's rep? Who is our mayor's, the new mayor's representative?
That's a really good question right now. It was Paula. She was our CAU rep. I don't know if she's still our CAU rep. To be honest, I have to find out.
Guys, we're beating a dead horse. We'll get it done. We'll find a way of getting it done. I don't care who's, who we have to grab by the scruff of the neck, but we're going to get this done.
Is it possible to get Vanessa Gibson to make this happen and help us to make this
I
happen?
don't know. We can reach out. I mean, we had all intents of having, we've already put our electeds on notice. I think we forgot to put the VP's office on notice, but we put Marjorie, we put Marjorie. I think Al, yeah, you were speaking to Marjorie, right?
We spoke to Marjorie last night. She'll do whatever the community wants.
Yeah,
Get
so
her to do it. Get her to do it. Get also, Feliz is also it's on the border of Feliz's.
I
Councilman
spoke to their office on Tuesday. I mean, I spoke to them prior to this, but I spoke to them again on Tuesday.
Well, Jeremy, you got to let them know. I mean, tomorrow you reach out to everybody you have to reach out to, every elected official we know. This is what the community demands. We're not asking, we're demanding that they make sure that these people attend our meetings. They're dumping on our community. The least they can do is show up and explain why.
Jeremy, do you have the address of Department of Homeland Services? Where are they located?
Probably in the city. I don't know.
Why don't we all show up there? I would.
They work from home virtually.
They have to have a main office, though. There's got to be some admin. This is ridiculous.
So
we'll get it done. Find out however we're going to get it done, Jeremy. Get it done tomorrow.
Well, the first thing I got to verify tomorrow is the location, right? Because
well, the location you'll find out. If you can get someplace closer, fine. If not, Maestro's is we have that one in the back pocket. If the other one comes through, fine. If not, we have Maestro's. So, as soon as we get that done, we want to get as many flyers out as we can so people know what they have to do. And then, we get it done. But we got to get our elected officials on board with this. I had told you this a couple of week ago. I wanted all these elected officials to sign a letter stating that they were going to side with the community.
Yeah,
and as I said, I spoke to Vanessa last night, and she said, "Fine, whatever the community wants, you'll go along with."
Okay.
Haven't heard from any of the other elected officials.
So we haven't heard from our Congresswoman. We haven't heard from her.
No.
I spoke to her office yesterday, but I forgot to bring up the issue, so I'll bring it up.
Yeah, this is your typical where we are not getting the response that we want from the people who are collecting data that are saying that our Community Board 11 has your particular amount of, they did this is 2019, 2020, and 2021. We've been getting hit every January. This is ridiculous. And there is no respect for the community that they will have our input.
What I've been
this is the Bronx problem. It's not a Community Board 11 problem only. There's 119 shelters in the Bronx. That's more than any other borough, and we are fourth in population other than Staten Island. Staten Island has one homeless shelter, so there's something wrong with that. And elected officials should be up in arms about the fact that we're not against the homeless. Make sure that everybody understands that, but. We're not in favor of everybody's homeless in the Bronx.
And the people that were displaced from Community Board 11, the 15 families from Mead Street, none of them, and I am seeing families every day. Tomorrow is the last family. None of them could get into Community Board 11. There are no family shelters. What's that all about? Where is DHS's data coming from?
Yeah, let's save some of the stuff for
I
when
know.
we do this. So because I think we can go on all night. Let's continue with the members of the public.
Roxanne was next.
Okay, Roxanne Delgado. Yeah, I see her hand up. Roxanne Delgado, go ahead.
Yes, hello? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you for responding. I'd like to say regarding first the street co-naming, before you move forward on anything, you need to revise your own street co-naming guidelines, because they have not been followed last year, and there was discussion that you will update them so they will be in line with the actions of Community Board 11. The second item regarding why is Community Board 11 getting only men's shelters? Well, this is a very easy answer, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the staff is doing their their job. It's called Turning the Tide, where 99 shelters were allocated throughout all, I forget how many community boards we have, at least 60 community boards throughout the city. And each community board, they get 2 shelters. And Community Board 11 and Community Board 8 was the last 6 community boards citywide that did not have any shelters allocated. And since families are priority, which they should be, family shelters were those first. Now they're moving to men's shelters. Unfortunately, since Community Board 8 and 11 were not allocated the shelters in the beginning, whereas the last 6 community boards, one of the last 6 community boards were getting the men's shelter, and that's not going to change. And you can look that up. It's called Turning the Tide. I was looking at regarding locations. I did call PS 105 this morning, spoke to the principal's assistant, and she said that Community Board 11 never contacted them, but if the community board wants to host their meeting there, they would have to get a permit. But she said that she doubts you can get a permit quickly, so maybe you can. I don't know. But if DHS will not be in attendance at the meeting, you might as well make it virtual. People don't want to go there and not see the community board. They're there because they want to see Department of Homeless Services. So if DHS will not appear in person, might as well make it virtual. Don't make people go all the way to Maestro or wherever this place is going to happen, because that's not fair to the community. And also, my emails are unresponded, and that's not right. If you guys are paid by us, so you should do your job, respond to my emails. I said so many times, what is the COVID-19 protocol? You refuse to respond. So I called Maestro myself. They said anyone that enters their premise, whether they're eating or not, must be fully vaccinated. You should put that on the flyer, because God forbid someone from our community walks all the way up to Maestro is turned away because they're not vaccinated. That's not, you have to respect the community. You have to provide them with the details of the meeting. You can't just stay here and let them figure it out on their own. That's not fair. If you're going to host a meeting, you have to provide them all accommodations for those who are disabled, for those who are not technology, or don't have access to technology, or for those who can't travel far. Provide them with options and provide them with information for their own safe and health-wise, especially during COVID-19. But if, again, the DHS will not be there in person, just make it remote, because it makes no sense for anyone to be there if DHS will not be there. Now, regarding getting those questions, I actually went to a lot of community board websites, and I was looking at their hearings regarding homelessness at their meetings with DHS. And it saddened me how those community boards are so sharp and so on the point, and I was like, why can't we have a community board like this? And what they did was they sent a questionnaire before the meeting with the most commonly asked questions. So even before they have the meeting, they do a pre-questionnaire, and I can send you a copy of it, because those are very good questions. Community Board 8 did it, Community Board 2 did it, Brooklyn Community Board 11 did it, and I have copies of the questionnaires. But they asked the most common questions, like who are the clients, what is the curfew, who is the provider, how many clients, the size of the room. And the DHS responded before the hearing. And that was questionnaire was provided to the public. So any questions that was not answered at that questionnaire, people could ask, because they already knew the answers to those commonly asked questions. Instead of people asking it over and over and over again, they already have those questions answered, and anything that hasn't been addressed, someone could bring it up. The Community Board 11 should have done that already. I mean, it's very sad. 4 months later, how Community Board 11 has not done much on this issue, and that's why I'm seeing that this shelter is going to be built unless I make my complaint goes forward regarding the lack of notice that the community did not receive. The Community Board did receive notice, but not the community. I don't know how, because the fair share requires the public to be have input and the public to have notice. But I have to understand the community means the people that are impacted, or the community board itself. So I have to figure out carefully what the fair share law says. So again, I would request you to do a pre-questionnaire before the meeting, send it to DHS, and if you want me to send you a copy of that questionnaire for Community Board 8, Community Board 11 Brooklyn, send me an email, because I'm not sending you an email. You don't respond to my emails. Second, provide us with the COVID-19 protocols so people who are not vaccinated or who are concerned that people at the meeting might not be vaccinated and they're one of those high-risk population, will not attend. And lastly, do not hold an in-person meeting. The DHS will not be there. Just do it virtual. Don't waste our time. That's it.
All right.
Yeah, hey,
Robert Press
sorry,
is
yeah, hey,
next. I see his hand up.
yeah, hey. I just want to point out something. That Hazel created a flyer. I don't know if you want me to share that briefly.
It's still in draft status.
My comment, will you be doing a
I think we
questionnaire
need to
before
work
the town hall
on it.
meeting?
So I guess once we work on the flyer, we finalize the location, we can share it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, will you answer my question regarding the questionnaire?
All right, Robert Press.
Did you answer a question, Yahi?
I don't have an answer to her question.
Okay. DHS doesn't have to go through a community board, I want you to know. On the Westchester Avenue Men's Shelter, the elected officials there, a state senator and assemblywoman, did it with DHS in a church. That was the public meeting. All that DHS is required is to have a public meeting with the public. It does not have to be through the community board, number one. Number two, as I said last night, Al was the only one who heard it because everybody here was not at the Morris Park meeting. And unfortunately, Yahi, you had to leave early. All right. I went through a lot of things, and even Councilwoman Velazquez said, yes, Bob is right, this, and this. Because I've been through it. I was on Community Board 8 when we got the homeless shelter. We had DHS put 55 people into a flea bag motel. All right. Then we found out that Community Board 8 had a responsibility of 325 people, which just happened to be the exact number of people that would fit into a stag building that he had okayed by the community board as market rate housing, which was then turned into a homeless shelter. All right. Unfortunately, this community board does not have the power that Community Board 8 has, like a former land use chair that threatened Mark Stagg with not getting 421A money or other things. They do not have a former city planning commission person that set up a special nature area. That is the unfortunate thing. This board does not have the same people as other boards. As far as boards not having homeless shelters, Board 10 does not have a homeless shelter as of yet. The reason being they were going to rezone up by Co-op City where the sign was that fell down, and that was cut by Councilman King at the time once he found out that a community facility could go there, which is a homeless shelter. He then said, no, I'm not changing the zoning up there. That is the problem. What the city is doing now is when this mandatory inclusionary housing, that is how homeless people are being put into good apartments. They're building new buildings, say 300 units, and a certain amount, like 60 units or more, are being provided for homeless families. Unfortunately, and this is what I said last night, my conversations with Mayor de Blasio when he was in office, going back to 2016 about various subjects, the reason that you have so many single homeless men is that they're on the street now. Unfortunately, these were the people that were in Rikers Island who could not get to bail. They could not raise bail, and they were in Rikers Island. And we saw that they were in there for up to 2 years or more, unfortunately. Now these people are no longer being held in Rikers. They are now out in the streets, and they are homeless. And the mayor said, we have a tremendous increase of single adult homeless men. Now, I'm going to be the same as the previous speaker. This is not the first. This is not the second. This is the third homeless shelter this community board is going into. I never heard a meeting for the first one or even the second one, because the first one is being built supposedly on land that has to have an EIS done because of the leaking fuel or whatever, transmission oil. That has to be an EIS done for that first site. All right. Last night, Al said that's being done, and we don't know what's going to happen there. The second site was an alternative site to the one that was kicked away. All right. what I see in this, what's happening here is you have new Metro North stations coming into this community board. And I don't see a homeless shelter being built anywhere near these Metro North stations. And that has to be a reason because it's all about property values. And if people they're buying up land around these stations. And right across the street of Tremont Avenue, you have a big block that was torn down. It's empty, waiting for a high-rise building to go in once that Metro North station comes. I would imagine that was why the one by the Morris Park station was defeated, because there's going to be probably another building going in there that will be more profitable than a homeless shelter. DHS, though, like I said, they don't have to come to the community board. They can have a private meeting with the community. And I would suggest that, oh, by the way, the Barnes Avenue building cannot hold more than 100 people. I'm with an officer at the Pelham Parkway Neighborhood Association. We hold our meetings there, and we had 75 people. And yes, there's a back room in there. It's a front room, but they're two separated rooms. You cannot hold more than 100 people on Barnes Avenue. Maestro's has a room that'll hold up to 500 people. I've been there at some of these events that they have. They also have backup rooms that can hold 100 people and 50 people. And downstairs, I was at a meeting with Community Board 10 where there were about 700 people. There are larger rooms at Maestro's. Unfortunately, that's probably the only place you're going to get if you're expecting 200 or more people. My other question, Yahe, is about the liquor license that's going to be heard at the full board meeting. Will the public be able to speak or not? Or is the public not going to speak at a liquor license application? That's all I have right now. I'd like an answer on the liquor license, though.
This is your opportunity to speak about the liquor license if you want to say anything on it.
You're not hearing it. Board members normally speak first.
So Bob, you want to register to speak in the gallery, the full board, you're welcome to. We put the gallery at the beginning of the full board meeting. So you usually register to speak. So if you want to state your registration now, we can do that for the record.
You do want to speak. All right, I'll state it now so it's for the record too. I want to speak a gallery session. All right. And you really don't want to hear what I'm going to have to say. Because if you think someone else here is bad, I know the rules. I've been on a community board for 6 years. I know when these things are supposed to be seen and heard. Okay. I know. Okay. I've been on a board.
We know you've been on Community Board 8, Bob. Thank you. And you are correct about, I don't think the city does have to go through a community board for homeless shelter. So thank you very much. We will put you down for the gallery at the full board.
All right, any other members from the public that would like to speak tonight?
They all spoke.
Okay. All right, let me go back to the agenda. All right, any old business? Any new business? Okay, anything else from the board members before we terminate the meeting? All right, it's currently.
I have, Jahe,
Yeah.
I would just like to know, please let the people that, what's going on here and the questions, et cetera, please try to expedite as quickly as possible. That's my only question. Or statement, I should say.
Oh. Yeah, I have a question too.
Bernadette, what's your request again? Try to expedite.
Is to really expedite our questions with regards to what's going to happen with the public hearing, town hall, DHS, and to expedite that as quickly as possible. It's a statement.
Okay.
Yeah, my question's related to that. Yeah, hey.
Yep.
Andrea, do you know if what Mr. Press said is true? That place doesn't hold more than 100 people? Because if that's the case, why should we bother?
It's very possible. He was right that there is a dividing, but I didn't take that into consideration, but in total, I would assume it would be big enough, but he says no, he might know better than I do.
So can we rule it out then?
It's fine with me.
Okay. Okay. I'll call the schools in the morning and then verify my ISRs in the morning.
What about Bronx House?
A few hundred people? No, that's not gonna happen though. It's not.
I'm just trying to find something that's in the neighborhood that people don't have to travel to.
I know.
Hey, Jeremy, we're still having the Public Safety Committee meeting next week on the 24th on Monday, right?
I don't know. I know Veronica, I was asking about that earlier. Veronica emailed asking the committee the 31st. I know one member of the committee asked for the 31st.
All right,
So,
Veronica, are you on?
I'm here.
Okay, so how about we get the list of questions ready and we vote on it on Monday at the Public Safety Committee meeting. We vote on the letter to be sent to DHS.
You can do that.
Jeremy,
yeah, what letter are you drafting?
just to send them some of the questions that we've received so far.
Okay. Do you want it? So this is going to come from public safety, or who's it coming from?
The community board.
It's going to be a
Yeah,
letter
shouldn't
from
that
the
be-
community board, but
Yeah, shouldn't that be down here then? I mean,
Yeah, but we don't have the letter right now or the questions ready, so we can vote on it.
well, I know I have some talking points I wanted to go over with Al. If you want, I don't know. If you want to do that here, or...
May I ask where are the questions going to you, Jeremy? Because I will send them tomorrow morning. Who is receiving that, or Yahya, are you receiving it?
Well, you're talking about for the public hearing? Because I think this
Yes,
is separate. This is like a,
Yes, for the public hearing.
We're going
No,
to the
this is
community
just
board.
Yeah.
community board 11 members and leadership concerns and questions for DHS. And I think the questions will cover the majority of the concerns from the general public. So if we get ahead with some of these questions to prep them, because we're afraid, like Al had mentioned a few
I'm
times,
not. My question was, who is receiving that? Who's?
it's Jeremy. If you want to send,
That's what I wanted to know. I
Yeah,
didn't know if it
yeah.
was you, Yahya, or Al, or Jeremy. That's why.
we're trying to send them this, like you said, expedite this letter to them so they don't show up at the meeting. We don't have the answer to that. We're gonna have to get
Yes.
back to you. We don't have an answer to that. We're gonna have to get back to you. You know, that's gonna be a lot of. So we'll give them 10 days. If they get the letter on Tuesday, they'll have 10 days to go over it.
And
And hopefully have.
can the elected officials be copied on that letter?
I think,
Absolutely, they should.
yeah, I think we should send them something in writing, requesting, because Al, you want a response from them in writing. You want their position on these issues. I think we should put that in writing, to request it in writing from them.
Okay,
And you also want to make them aware that their presence is required at this meeting, not requested, but required
Well,
by the community. It's bad enough that DHS is not going to show up. So maybe, just maybe, they might be able to answer some questions like why this is coming into our community.
I think the diplomatic word is requested. I think that would be sufficient. Don't you think, Al?
strongly suggested. How's that?
Well, it's important to the community. It's not.
They have to see how we feel.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, we want you to show up." No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work this time.
Yeah, I don't think we would say it in a weak milquetoast way. I think we would word it in a way that it's clear we want their presence.
Yes, the community, not just the community board, but the
The
community.
community is demanding their presence. You don't put the onus on you. Put it on the community. The community wants to hear from you. We want you there.
And that's not that's true. It's not
Of
false.
course it is.
Yeah, so, Jeremy,
The
just
community
one real
strongly
quick thing.
requests your presence at our town hall meeting. That's all. That's all. We can work out the verbiage another time. We're killing this thing.
Yeah.
Jeremy, real quick. So if we vote on, I know we really can't really, send an official letter unless it's voted by the community board. Now, if it's voted at the
Well-
committee level, can it still be sent, or it still has to be discussed at the full board before it's sent?
The leadership can act in lieu of the full board. The leadership committee can act in lieu of the full board.
The problem is we don't have it prepared for tonight, so.
I mean, I have talking points. I mean,
Yeah, can we vote on the talking
We can
points
make a motion tonight to send a letter.
with the reference to talking points?
Right.
we can email to the board before we send it in case, like something flagrantly wrong with the letter pointed out to us. But I think we should try to get this letter finalized today, give it to people the weekend to maybe read it and yeah, on Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
Okay, so,
I definitely want to do this sooner rather than later.
I make a motion then that a letter be sent to our elected officials requesting their presence at our town hall. And also I guess questions being sent to, I guess that would be another motion. Questions being sent to Department of
Yeah.
Services.
Yeah, I think there can be one motion now. You want to send letters to elected officials and Home Services.
Home Services.
And also reiterate that we want their presence there.
We strongly request their presence.
okay, I second that. So in the discussion, Jeremy, can you mention the talking points in the discussion, please?
So
We can go over them quickly.
So I think we should we should cite the fair share analysis, which is, what they're using to justify, what are the 800 beds based on? Well, currently it's 540 proposed beds, all single adult males. So the 800, what's the breakdown of the 800? How many are men? How many are women? They're going to try to hide behind privacy, identifying information. We don't want to identify. I don't want to know this person's name. I don't want to know their exact address. I want percentages. How many are men? How many are women? How many are originating, because they use the last known address, how many are originating from public facilities such as Jacoby Medical Center, which could, or Bronx Psychiatric, which I would say skews the actual population they're basing this on. And
why is our request for a family shelter, which is a priority, been totally denied? And there are, I mean, you know what I'm going to say.
I don't know if we've requested a family shelter in a while. I think maybe around the time of Blondell, we requested something like that. Maybe not effectively, but if they try to hide behind confidentiality, we just got to remind them that, first of all, they've been sued recently by the New York Times, and the New York Times won because, so just so everybody's aware, the New York Times requested a list of their homeless shelters throughout the city, or the addresses, and they wouldn't provide that. And they got sued by the New York Times, and the New York Times won in court. So we should also, I would put that in the letter, remind them that, this can come to litigation if necessary. Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. I mean, we can cite other things like the locality of what it's near.
Yes, by the school, across the street from Brady Park.
Which we've done in previous letters, or at least, that we've sent, or Al sent, whatever, officially.
And the business owners that have become aware over there the business owners are very upset about this. The families that live right there on Unionport Road, you've got three high density buildings, plus the 2 Birch Hall buildings. You have a high density area of families that live right there. And they are up in arms in a huge way. It's very bad. It's and
Well,
Uh,
we'll work on the questions, as I said, as they come in.
Al, you still there?
Okay. Oh, we lost Al.
But that's
But
the questions answered as we possibly can.
Yeah, but
yes.
I mean, I think relatively short and sweet like that. I mean, what's the fight? What's the analysis? What's the analysis? Have we ever been provided analysis on the 800? What's the justification for the shelters?
Uh,
And
And why are they starting any kind of activity there without permits?
well,
So
We're not gonna, just for the sake of brevity, we're not gonna compose the questions now. We're gonna do it at home, we're gonna send them into Community Board 11, and we're gonna get it done. Otherwise, we'll be here all night coming up with questions.
okay.
If that's what you wanna do. If that's what you wanna do, I'm fine, I'm okay with it.
yeah, but just to Brenna's point, or anybody else, I think maybe a member of the public, as far as I remember, Stillwell there was activity going on, and that didn't happen, did it? So I think just because there's activity going on, it doesn't mean it will ultimately happen. And
It's just it puts the community, the immediate community, in a very, very s- unstable situation.
what, Andrea?
It puts the media community at risk.
Well, in what way? Because I think if you try to
If-
go into that subject,
If it was a shelter for families, I think people would feel much differently than a shelter for men. Because unfortunately, people in the neighborhood see the homeless men in the neighborhood and they're going to connotate them with what's going in to the shelter.
I understand your point, but I think that might diverge from their weak point. I think their weak point is that we know. I mean, I think we all here know people from our district. They're not single adult men that are in the shelter system or have been in the shelter system. We know we have that population. I think that's really where we should hit them. 'Cause
Well, we have enough time to make up as many questions as we want to make up. So, let's take time to do that. In the meantime, a motion was made that we send a letter to our elected officials and the Department of Homeless Services requesting their presence at the meeting.
And Al, how about one directly to the mayor? Because I think the mayor does. Why is he continuing to lodge this failed
Send
policy?
it out to whomever you
Send
think.
it to the whole world. It doesn't matter.
Every politician in New
That
York.
a letter is being sent. Let's get this done.
No, I just want the mayor specifically. That's all.
You can send it to the governor's office also. Let her know what the hell's going on
The
in
mayor,
this neighborhood.
the mayor has the ability to pull the plug. To my knowledge, there's an opt-out lease with all these shelter sites. It's the mayor.
I'm waiting a call back from his office. I made a request that I get a call back from his office. I'm waiting. I was told possibly by the end of the week or early next week, I'll be getting some call from the office. Can't promise that this is what I was told. We'll see. I'll stay on top of it.
Okay.
All right.
Can
So,
can I add something are we done? Can I add something on the new business?
hold on, we want to finish the vote on it. So,
Okay.
that was the discussion part. Any abstentions? Any objections? All right, motion passes. Bernadette, you had new business?
Yes, I want Jeremy, if you would you basically see, or Yahe or Al, the property at 2129 White Plains Road? If there are permits that are being taken out with that, and if there is any, there's a lot of rumors going around, and I haven't had a chance to do my homework and check for permits, but that's the property that is all boarded up right next to Planet Fitness. There are some rumors that was brought up at the rally, but people are saying the possibilities, but I understand it's only rumors.
Are you talking about Dress Barn? Or what used to be Dress Barn? You're talking about to the left of that.
That's the property
right next.
Sokol.
I'll
Okay,
send
left
you the
of-
picture. It's right on the corner. It hasn't been excavated as far as for the foundation, but it is all boarded up and there's no permits out.
Yeah,
What did you hear, Bernadette?
It's not good. It's very bad.
Give me a for instance.
That there's going to be housing um,
It can't be housing. It's not zoned for it.
well, or it's going to be a shelter or housing or program for, well, what's the correct word for, sex offenders?
the most recent permit is from 2019. It looks like it was approved in 2020. It's for interior renovation of existing. You sure it's 2129?
Well, 2128 is across the street, 21, or is it 2127?
Property right next to Planet Fitness, Jared, the one that's owned
Yeah,
by.
no, I'll look it up on map. I don't want to waste everybody's time. I'll look it up and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
But that's privately owned, and I was under the impression she was going to be building some more stores there, and she ran out of money and COVID and all this other nonsense.
Well, when you
I
mean
would just
she,
watch out. I would be a watchdog for it. I would be a watchdog.
when you mean she, Andrea, who are you talking about?
The owner of the property.
Okay, because I don't know if it was a she anymore.
Well, it was a she at one time. I don't know if her son's running it now.
Yeah, because she's no longer around, to my knowledge.
Okay.
All right. So yeah,
Thank you.
it's not 2129. 2129 is a fitness and dress barn.
So, okay, there was my,
The property she's talking about, though.
Yeah, I know. Everything to the left, to the corner, to Marion Place.
Correct.
Yeah, I got 2111. All right, I'll look it up.
thank you.
All right, anything else before we terminate this meeting?
The time, please.
All right, so it's 8:42 PM. This is the end of the Leadership Committee meeting. Thank you, everybody, for tonight, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you so
Good
much.
night, everyone.